I guess the current term is a minimalist. I practice voluntary simplicity, and I try not to own much stuff. And if you don't own much stuff, you don't need a big house. And if you're off the grid, you don't have a lot of bills and have a lot of need to make a lot of money. And it suits me. William Morris, the designer, said, "Have nothing in your house that isn't beautiful or useful." And I would go him one further and say, have nothing that isn't beautiful or used. But if you're not using it on almost a daily basis, give it to somebody who could. And so I pare it down to what I use, and life's lighter and easier that way. It's 192 square feet, but it has a high ceiling, and the loft only goes over this side, so I think it feels spacious. This is typically hinged onto here, but here's a composting toilet, and it's a work of art. One uses it pretty much the way one would use a regular toilet. The urine and poop are separate, and it's filled with peat moss, or partly filled. So you move this to churn it periodically. There's a flush on the other side that pulls that trap back. The urine part has a little gauge, so you can tell when that's filling up.
This is just a 280 watt panel. I will ultimately have 4, 1100 watts or so. And that has worked well. She gets reasonable sun here, but doesn't use a lot of energy. So the 1100 watts, a 1500 watt inverter for her appliances is fine. The panel itself was $172. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, that was closer to $800 for a panel this size. So they're becoming much more available, much cheaper. Right now she's just using a little automotive battery, but there are better, what they're called deep cycle batteries. The solar panels have a lifetime of 25 years, guaranteed. No moving parts. The two aspects of going off the grid is you can either try to keep your energy capabilities to meet your energy needs, or you can reduce your energy needs and kind of live within those constraints. As you can see, we don't have a hot water heater, we don't have a clothes dryer, don't have a clothes washer. So those energy needs are much, much smaller. I think a lot of people try to get to alternate energy with solar and wind and try to still consume the same amount of energy that they always have on the grid. And you don't realize just how much energy we use until you start having a battery run down on you because it can't support all of that energy that you're used to using.
There are hundreds of tiny houses around the country, and it's really growing. Tiny Tumbleweed Homes is just one of the many contractors that are getting into building houses that are really small. I just try to reduce my carbon footprint, my every footprint. The amount of land I take up, the amount of electricity, therefore coal, gas, whatever. I drive a smart car. Richard drives a Prius. And so, again, it's just try to lead by example, and if somebody notices and it influences them, so much the better.